episode 14 of the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast. I'm Gary Ray. We've got another banger of a show for you tonight. My goodness, the World Juniors, Team Canada, third year in a row, losing to the Czechs. The Swedes beat the Finns to go to the finals tonight against the Americans. College rundown and semi preview. We got two great semi games for college football coming at us. We got the NFL roundup and the matchups. We got buzzing with Clarko. They got a couple of big wins, one over LaSalle, one over Listowel. We got Chester's Perch. They won over first place Chatham. Chew on that. We got the Canadian Olympic rosters to talk about and who didn't make it. We have Rhett's Roundup. He's going to be talking about Chatham Maroons' 3-2 loss at St. Mary's and then Elmira's 6-5 OT loss at Strathroy. And we'll be talking a little bit about the Waterloo Siskins review. All that and more on episode 14 of the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast.
6 guys, 3 sports, no leash. This is the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast. Football, hockey, and baseball the way it's meant to be. Loud, raw, and completely unfiltered.
Look at these two friendly faces. Gentlemen, how are you tonight? Look at Halser with the lovely backdrop.
I'm amping up my tech skills. Are you impressed yet?
Yes, we are.
Love it. All right, Shanker, he's putting you on the spot. We got to up your game for next week, so we'll have to help you with the backdrop. So,
well, I'll have a nice backdrop next week when I'm in the sunny south.
That's right. You're heading down to Mexico.
Yeah. So I'll be stopping by periodically.
Nice. Well, maybe we'll get you from your resort bar with Pedro, and we'll have you guys on live from Mexico.
I'll try to find a few sports heads down there.
I remember when I was in Jamaica many moons ago, and there was a bunch of Canadians and Swedes, and Canada was playing Sweden in the World Juniors. And I talked the bartender at the resort bar to allow me to hook my laptop on. A guy from Toronto had a patch cord, and I hooked it into my laptop, and we put it on the big screen in the bar. Nice. And we had the whole bar watching the World Juniors, Canada, Sweden. So that was pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Good times. So, all right, boys, let's get into it. Trending World Juniors. My goodness. Team Canada, third year in a row, shit the bed against Czechia. What happened there? What do you think, Halser?
Well, they're just in the end, I thought they were just too easy to score on. The forward lines, so much firepower up front. They were producing. Parek's an enigma, isn't he? He's so good up front. I think just tonight in the bronze medal game, he set the record for most points by a defenseman in this tournament. But unfortunately, when he gets into his own end, he needs some work, frankly. And they paired him up. It didn't seem to matter who they paired him up with. He was on for a lot of goals. So that's junior hockey in a nutshell, right? I mean, you got a kid who can impress the hell out of you, scoring goals and setting up goals and making the play happen, and then doesn't really have a lot of responsibility in the back end. And they have too many guys on this team that are like that, unfortunately. You could see Hunter because I know Hunter, and if you've ever watched the Knights play, they don't win games, generally speaking, 9-2. When they were in their heyday, they were winning 3-1 hockey games, and they were so positionally solid. But that takes months and months of practice, and he couldn't mold this team fast enough to play that defensive style. And And I appreciate the fact that, last year there was a bunch of hand wringing about who wasn't on the roster, and Perek was one of them. And so was Misa. And, they bring these guys in, they just bring basically the top point guys. And, nobody's there at the back end. They didn't get the big save when they needed it. I thought they got out goaltended in the semifinal by a wide margin. Do I think they're still great? Yeah, I do. I mean, when you go into a one-game final, if you don't have it all going on and getting a little bit of the breaks, like the Czechs having the last one bounce in off a skate, we all thought it was going to overtime at that point. But, that's what happens in junior hockey. Weird stuff happens, and, a team that you think can't lose doesn't always win the hockey game.
Schenker, what caught your eye on the group chats? They were up, they were down. You had Reed giving up that bad goal in the first game against the Czechs. Coots gave it up behind the net. I think it was on the third or the fourth goal there last night. What did you see with Team Canada that ultimately brought them to their knees?
Well, let's go back to the New Year's Eve game where it was the first three shots for both teams were in the net. And Canada's supposed to have all this great goaltending, like Halser just said, and Carter George wasn't his best. But all this firepower we have, and we got outshot 37-24 to the Czechs. The Czechs forechecked Canada so hard, Canada didn't have an answer, and which is mind-blowing with the staff they had behind the bench. Like when you give up 37 shots to the Czechs, it's time to reevaluate your defense. But it's like Halser said, it's a one-game playoff, and when you don't come out firing and giving it all, you're going to lose. And yeah, the Czechs scored with a lucky bounce off two skates to win, but Canada, they didn't impress me yesterday, and it's too bad. They're still a good team, but hey, full credit to the Czechs.
I just didn't think that Canada was as hungry as the Czechs were. They didn't have an answer. Like Canada opened up the scoring, but then after that, they were playing chase and catch up the whole game. And, when Martone scored with 2:41 to tie it up at 4, like we thought, oh, finally, this is our year. But it was just a game of breaks. And I just thought, Halser, I agree with you to some extent. Ivan Kovic didn't have his best game. I didn't think he was that bad. I was watching the replays today on the goals. I thought it was more of the Czech goalie getting puck luck. Like Gage, he had 3 posts, and all 3 of them hit the goalie first, then hit a pad, hit a glove, then hit the post, and it was like, are you kidding me? Or sorry, Michael Hage. And I thought it was also big too when Brady Martin got injured there in the first period.
That was huge.
It looks like a separated shoulder or broken collarbone, one of the two. And he had 8 points in 6 games. He was one of your top 6 forwards on the top power play. That was a huge letdown, especially when Canada had the 2-man advantage. They scored on the one, but they still had over a minute on the second man advantage. Couldn't get it in there. He was a huge letdown not having him for the final 2 periods. But just some questionable calls. You had the 2 goalie interferences called. You had the delay a game with 5 minutes to go on Misa. Like just everything that could go wrong. And I'm not blaming the referees, but it was just, shit luck. The Czech goalie getting the post to be his best friend. And then at the other end, you got Ivan Kovic not getting those breaks. And full marks to the Czechs, because you guys are both right. They out-forechecked them. I thought their defense was better. They just wanted it more. And when you listen to Team Canada afterwards, they all admitted it. They all said that it wasn't the referee's fault. They just outplayed us. And sometimes you got to just tip your cap. But what's backbreaking is the third year in a row that the Czechs score late in the game. 2024 in the quarterfinals, they score with 11 seconds to go to beat Canada. 2025 last year, they score with 40 seconds to go in the quarters to beat Canada. And then last night, they score with a $1.14. Well, if you can call it a goal, the guy wasn't even looking when it hit his skate and went into the net. It was kind of laughable that they reviewed it to see if the guy had a kicking motion when he didn't even know it hit his skate when it went in. And
funny thing, when I saw that replay, Razor, all I saw, like the replay, they had the goal cam, so you couldn't see the top half of the player, and it totally looks like a kicking motion because he's turning, right? And so when you only see is from the knee down on the goalie cam, it totally looked like a kicking motion. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way that counts. But then they showed the one from the stands, the camera angle from the stands, and you could see that the guy was looking into the corner when the puck bounced in off him, which is, you know, I know how those goals feel. Most of mine were just like that, where somebody banged one in off my ass, right? So I tell you what, the one thing that really called to home for me last night, when we're going to talk about the Olympic roster later on, but when we name a Team Canada roster, we have different philosophies at the level that we're talking about. The juniors went with, you know, firepower, offensive, up front, skates. You know, when you look at the Olympic team, you're having conversations about Sam Bennett and Tom Wilson, guys who are not, you know, Brad Marchand, guys who are not that type of player. Those three guys probably don't get considered for a world junior team. And I wonder if it's time. I'm not sure this guy exists, to be honest with you, but does junior distinguish a player like that who maybe has a limited amount of points in the regular season, but is a guy that'll win all the faceoffs, finish all his checks, play physical, intimidate, anything you can do. You know what I mean? You just don't seem to see that at this level anymore. And it's
more sandpaper.
It's a real disappointment to me, this tournament, because I feel like that was our greatest advantage. I mean, the Russians can score, the Americans can score, you know, all the countries can score. The Swedes, they're all really good. The thing that set us apart was aggression. And we don't see that in the World Juniors anymore. I think that the IIHF has brought our team down to their level. If we were to play the full bore game that our Olympic team plays, I think, you know, I don't think we're having this conversation. I think we're talking about, well, maybe we better get this filming done so we can watch the gold medal game. I truly believe that.
It definitely does make a difference because I'm not 100% sure about the Olympics, but to your point with the officiating, you look at the Four Nations Cup, they were all NHL officials. So everybody knew how the game was going to be called. And there's no bias, like, you know, whether you have an American, a Canadian official, like they're professionals. It's like in the Stanley Cup, right? Like you're getting paid to be unbiased.
Yeah, I'm not talking about bias. I'm talking about feel.
I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? And at the Olympics, if memory serves, it's all NHL referees anyway. NHL players don't want to play without NHL officials on the ice.
Yeah. Well, because you just don't know what you're getting, right?
You have to have coach, like you have to have refereed at that level to be able to referee that level at the Olympics. You know, you can't bring a guy up. All due respect to the Danish elite league, I don't want a referee from that league, and not because he's not capable, but he certainly doesn't have the experience that we're talking about here. And that's the difference in the World Juniors now. I truly believe that they do bring a guy out of Denmark who has done U20 before.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not the referees. It's the guidelines being set down. Call it this way, or we'll bring referees out that will call it that way. And so that's what's changed in the junior to me. And maybe I sound like I'm making an excuse for our program, but you know, like I said, I believe there's lots of programs that can score, but we're just getting handcuffed by these changes that the IIHF has made over the last 10, 15 years.
Well,
you're right, Halser.
Go ahead,
You watch Sweden and Finland or whoever, and there's always a bad call or a call where you're scratching your head going, how do you call that? Well, they're an international referee, and they see things different than the North American referees, which is odd.
Like last night, you had two Finnish linesmen. You had an American referee, and I forget where the second referee was from, whether he was from Sweden or where he was from. But I just thought it was an absolute travesty that they called Misa for a delay a game, like off that face off. Like that was a big deal because they would have had a power play. He goes into the box at delegates any power play that they had, and it's just they need to get some continuity, and I think you're right. Will they ever do it? Not likely, because you're
No
right.
chance.
They
No.
will get the guy from the Danish Elite League, and he doesn't get into high intensity games like that. So,
I wanted to
anyways,
make one more point about the officiating. Sorry if I'm
Go
dragging on
ahead.
here, but this review process, I have two issues with it. Number one, I don't think the referees should be doing the reviews. I think there should be somebody upstairs. Doesn't have to be the NHL guys back in Toronto or whatever. The referees should not be the ones reviewing this. Because if you've seen what they're giving them, here's a little 8-inch iPad. Decide a world championship game with this little, like, it just, are you kidding me? Like, how can you actually see this thing? There should be somebody upstairs on the reviews that is not, it's just, first of all, has a bigger screen. And you know what I mean? I think there should be, I don't like the referees going into the penalty box and doing that review. I think it's Bush. Spend some money and get an actual video review person.
I hear you.
That's right.
All right. Well, let's move on. I'm going to play the ads for trending, and then I'll play it for end zone and fantasy, and we'll get into the college and NFL rundown.
This trending segment brought to you by Best Western Plus Arden Park Hotel, located at 552 Ontario Street, Stratford, located steps from the Festival Theatre, while offering first-class accommodations with an extensive range of services, including conference center, banquet facilities, and heated indoor pool. End Zone and Fantasy. Brought to you by TNT Security, Inc., where security meets reliability. Call Todd Schmidt today for a security quote on your concert, dance, sporting, and alcohol event, business, property, or mobile patrol security.
End zone and fantasy. We'll start off with college, the quarterfinals that went by. Shanker, we got to tip our cap to you, man. You were the psychic. You were the one picking Miami Hurricanes to take down Goliath, number 2, Ohio State Buckeyes. You were the only one that picked them, so hats off to you. Miami takes down Ohio in the Cotton Bowl, 24-14. It was just unbelievable domination. You had Ohio State wondering what the heck was going on, other than Smith, who had 7 receptions for 157 yards and 1 TD. Sayan didn't play bad. Ohio State quarterback. He was 22 of 35 with 1 tutty, 2 picks, 287 yards, and 129 rating. But it was Miami's defense. They just were unstoppable. What did you guys see? We'll start with you, Shanker.
Well, when Ohio State scored their first touchdown to make it 14-7 in the third, you could see the momentum starting to come with Ohio State. And like I said, the Halls the other night, Miami's D was bending, but they didn't break, and they'd stuffed them. And you're right, like that's the best I've seen that Miami D play in the last few weeks. And a few weeks ago, Nick Saban said on that college game day, saying if Miami gets into the playoffs, be careful. They're going to be dangerous. They have a great team.
Yeah. They're making everyone look like, I think a lot of people owe an apology to the college guys that ended up making the top 12 for the playoff format, because let's face it, there's no debating Miami deserved to be in over Notre Dame, and they're showing it. They're legend killers taking down Ohio State.
Like, I think they should have been ranked higher than 10, but when you don't make the ACC title game, what do you do, right? Like, and now Alabama, they're getting all the flack for being in there now after getting shellacked.
Well, they're no Nick Saban team anymore. And Halser, I'll ask you what you thought of number 1 Indiana taking down number 9 Alabama, 38-3. They demolished them at the Rose Bowl. And you had Mendoza only having the highest rating in Rose Bowl history. He was a 14 of 16 for 192, 3 tutties, and he had a 250.2 rating, the highest rating in Rose Bowl history, maybe of college. I know it's Rose Bowl for sure, but what did you think of that shellacking?
Well, that was, you guys are jumping on Alabama here and others will as well, but I think you could have taken an SEC All-Star team and played IU that night. They were absolutely mechanically perfect all night long. I mean, we know they're the best team in the country because the team that we thought was the best team in the country, they just beat them 3 weeks ago. And they were about the only team that wasn't suffering from the long layoff. I think we're going to get into that after we get through the games about the record of those who are getting buys. But, 20 odd, it was at least 3 or 3.5 weeks between games for Indiana. I think it was 25 or 26 days. And they came out like they were in midseason form. They found something that worked and they hammered it over and over and over and just shoved it right down the throat of Alabama, and there wasn't a damn thing you could do about it. Now, Alabama hasn't had a lot of great first halves, or have had, maybe more accurately, has had some slumpy first halves this season, but they're very dangerous in the second half. But it was announced pretty early by Indiana that there was going to be no second half comeback. It was just an all-world performance by the best team in the country, and the rest of the teams still alive. As good as Miami looked, everybody else should be worried, frankly, about Indiana.
They're looking good. Getting on to the second New Year's Day game, it was a bit of a yawner. Number 5 Oregon blows out number 4 Texas Tech 23-0. Dante Moore was 26 of 33 for 234 yards. No tutties, but 1 pick. And he had a 132 rating. That was kind of like the yawn of the day. The last one, I thought the game of the night, or the game of the weekend, was number 6 Ole Miss taking down another Goliath, number 3 Georgia, who, Halser, you and I were predicting both Ohio State and Georgia to be there with Indiana at the end, and they're no longer there. But what I found really interesting is that Georgia had a 21-12 lead at the half.
Yeah.
And then Ole Miss just went, not tonight. And then Trinidad Chambliss just put his Superman cape on, 30 of 46, 362 yards, 2 tutties, no picks, and 145 rating. Just lights out.
But with Ole Miss winning, Lane still gets paid.
Yeah. Yeah, he's made $2 million for doing nothing, because in his contract, he gets $1 million bonus for every college football playoff win that Ole Miss gets. They made a mistake. The athletic director at Ole Miss made a mistake. He should have put in that you had to still be the coach of Ole Miss.
But you know what? Full dues to Ole Miss for not giving up and just playing. Like, that's great. That's an SEC rivalry, and it's great to see.
Halser, what did you think of Trinidad Chambliss? Is this kid for real?
Well, it was like watching a young Josh Allen, who was just decided, like, I don't care what is going on in this game, we're winning. And he just, like you said, to your point, he put the cape on, and he third down conversion after third down conversion, and he was fantastic, getting extra yards, smart decisions with the ball, got rid of it when he needed to. It wasn't like he felt like he had to make a play every play. Very poised, very mature, incredible. It's going to be, I think these semifinal games are going to be fantastic.
Speaking of semifinal games, Thursday night with the Fiesta Bowl, you got number 10 Miami versus number 6 Ole Miss. Miami is the favorite right now. They're a 3.5-point favorite. They got the over-under at 52.5. And then Friday, you got in the Peach Bowl, number 5 Oregon versus number 1 Indiana. Indiana's a 4.5-point favorite with the over-under at 46.5. Halser, I'll start with you. What do you think of these two matchups on Thursday and Friday coming up?
Well, I think Thursday is liable to be the better game if Trinidad can be that guy again. Miami's defense is kind of like Houston's, where they don't sit on top at the end of the season, but when you look back over the last few weeks, their defense has been lights out, and so it's going to take a remarkable effort from a quarterback to get past Miami. And so if Trinidad can do this week what he did last week, it'll be a great game. Otherwise, I think Miami's going to really shut them down.
Yeah, Ruben Bain's going to have Chambliss in his sights all game. Schenker, what do you like about these two games?
Oh, I think it's going to be a lot of offense Thursday night. I can see Ole Miss winning. I hope Miami wins, but they just had that big win over Ohio State, so I can see maybe not a letdown, but like just a little setback here.
Okay, let me write this down. Schenker says Ole Miss. I got to go play pro line after we tape it because Schenker's on a heater. He sees things that we aren't, Halser. So,
and for Friday night,
who do you like Friday?
These two played back in November, and Indiana won 30-20, but they won it late. You can't go against Indiana. There's no way.
They're the darling. I think it's going to be Mendoza all the way to the Natty.
And you know what? Las Vegas has a great quarterback coming their way.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, they got the number 1 pick coming up in the draft for the Raiders. So just see they fired Pete Carroll today. They want a different coach.
Surprise.
Yeah, they want a different
Black Monday happened, right?
What's that?
Black Monday, they call it.
Yeah.
The day after the season is over, and I think there were 3 teams that fired their coach: Cleveland, the Raiders, and Arizona.
The Falcons cleaned house.
And the Falcons, so 4.
They got rid of the coach and GM.
The question I have is, go ahead, Schenker.
I'm surprised Cleveland fired their guy.
Well, I'm with you, man. I was just going to talk about Cleveland and the fact that I did a little research on Deshaun Watson. You remember Deshaun Watson, right?
Oh, yeah.
Also known as the Albatross.
Yeah.
Okay. next to Rondon, the worst contract in sports history. Did you know that his cap hit, because of all the restructuring they had to do to extend Garrett, his cap hit, Deshaun Watson's cap hit, is $81 million next year.
Jesus.
Projecting to be about $300 million. So they've got $220 to spend on the rest of the team. And how is it that you've got a guy, like a team with a quarterback that bad, that injured, that overpriced, and the coach loses his job and not the GM? How is that a thing? How does the GM still have his job? He's the one that signed this. I mean, you're running with Sanders for the last 5 games. What was he picked? Like 173rd in the draft, maybe?
And he's looked good in spots too the last few weeks.
Well, he's looked like a donkey in spots too. He looked like he was drafted absolutely properly. So when Cleveland's playing Buffalo, Cleveland's still in the game, but you look at their quarterback and you look at Buffalo's quarterback and you go, wow, like this is like McDavid against somebody from my local junior B team. There's such a difference there. So how is that the coach's fault? I mean, that was a decent defense considering how much money they had to spend on it. They had nothing but injuries all year long. They don't have their starting quarterback. They lost their running back, Judkins, in that Bills game. And he wasn't even the first guy on the list to start the season. So I feel bad for Stepanski because, maybe he's a knob, maybe he is no good, but I don't see how the GM is still having a job after the stuff that he's done.
I thought Buddy from Miami would have been canned 8 a.m. this morning.
Well, that was they fired the GM. They did Miami did the opposite, right? They fired the GM, and then the team goes on a 4-game heater that saved the coach's job. So he gets another paycheck and go buy another pair of those flood pants he loves to wear. And,
All right, let's get into the matchups and the times in the AFC. Denver's the number 1 seed. They got a bye. Number 2, New England. They host the Chargers Sunday night at 8 p.m. Number 3, Jacksonville. They host our Bills Sunday at 1 p.m. And then Pittsburgh. My gosh, They survive. They miss a field goal, and then they live because the Ravens missed the winning field goal. They host Houston Monday at 8:20. Then you get over into the NFC. Seattle's got a bye. Then you got number 2 Chicago. They host Green Bay Saturday night at 8:00. Then the Eagles host my Niners. That is not the matchup I wanted. I wanted the Niners to go to Carolina, but the Eagles host the Niners Sunday at 4:30 p.m. And then you got Carolina hosting the Rams Saturday at 4:30. But
Nice.
who are you guys liking? Let's start with the AFC. What upset are you picking, Shanker? You got New England versus the Chargers, Jacksonville Bills, and Pittsburgh Houston. Who are you picking there?
Oh man, if Buffalo can get by Jacksonville, they're going to go to the Super Bowl. But I don't know. Like I hope the if I have to take an upset, I'm going to take the Chargers.
All right. Halzer, who are you taking for an upset?
Well, I have obviously I'm tempted to take Buffalo. This is a weird matchup in that it is, first of all, it is the number 1 rushing offense in Buffalo against the number 1 rush defense in Jacksonville. And I frankly believe that this is a horrible matchup for both teams. The first thing that's weird is Buffalo's playing a playoff game in warm weather. And that hasn't happened since they were in Texas in 2018 or 19. They were in Jacksonville playing a playoff game 2017, lost 10-3, and 4 months later drafted Josh Allen. And so they're coming back with a different quarterback this time. And it's going to be, it's a horrible matchup for Buffalo because this is an offense that is absolutely rolling and a defense that is as opportunistic as any team in the league. I think they led the league in takeaways on defense, if memory serves. And so it's also an absolutely horrible matchup for Jacksonville because you got Josh Allen coming to town, the number 1 rush offense. Congratulations, you won the division. You won 13 games, and then you get Buffalo, who is the very epitome of the name wild card. Like to Shanker's point, they could go to the Super Bowl or they could get dusted Sunday 20-5. They really could. What defense is going to show up for Buffalo, or does it matter? Because that offense has been absolutely rolling for the last month. So I really like Buffalo's experience and their ability to run the football and the recent resurgence of the defense over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And of course, a whole big heap and help and a bias. I like Buffalo this weekend on very much a nail biter because that's how we roll in Buffalo. We only play nail biters.
We don't do it easy. Yeah, I'm going to take the Bills too. I agree with everything you guys are saying. They could shit the bed, or if you get their defense playing like they did against the Eagles there last week, I think Buffalo can do it. Let's go over to the NFC. You got Chicago hosting Green Bay, Philadelphia hosting my Niners, and Carolina hosting the Rams. Who are you picking for an upset there, Halzer? We'll start with you.
Well, these are, 2 really tasty matchups. The Eagles and the Niners. I mean, the Niners have been kind of on the warpath. This is another matchup nightmare for San Francisco. That defense, we just saw it firsthand in Buffalo a couple of weeks ago, but this is, Jalen Carter is a beast in the middle there. He's going to be really hard to run on. And McCaffrey has to have a big day. Who's going to play for the Niners, I think, is first question. So when they're kind of a sexy underdog pick, but I don't think so. I think if Philly outside in the cold, I think they're going to win. I think that the road team is the Rams, that they're going to win, but they're not. I mean, they're about a 10-point favorite, I think, last I saw.
Yeah, they're definitely the favorite. Who are you taking? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just to finish the thought, I don't see an upset. I see the favorites doing okay on this weekend.
All right, Shanker, who are you taking?
I like the Rams to win easily. I know they lost in Carolina a couple weeks ago, but now's the time that counts, and I can't see the Rams losing, or I think the Rams win by double digits. San Fran and Philly will probably be the game of the week. This is a close one to pick.
Eagles are
like to see
4.5-point favorites.
which is a lot. I think that's a lot. Like I can
Kind
see
of a
this
dead
game
number,
coming
eh?
down to a field goal. Yeah. But my upset of the week is Carson's favorite team.
Oh, here we go.
Packers are beating the Bears.
Love it, Carson. Love it,
What's
buddy.
up, Keith? Ed?
Not much.
Go Packers.
And what makes you think the Packers are going to beat the Bears, young man?
Jordan loves playing.
Jordan loves playing. Fair
Yeah,
enough. Man knows what he's talking about.
that's right. Any other predictions with your Packers? What else do you
Depending on
think?
who they face,
Yeah,
I think Philly's gonna win.
that would be a great upset. See your cheeseheads take down the Bears in Chicago. So we got our fingers crossed for you, buddy.
Yep.
All right. I'm gonna take my Niners, even at -4.5. I'm gonna take them. Call me crazy, but I think that I'm glad that Purdy got that game out of his system there last weekend. So taking the Niners in Philly. When we come back, we're going to have Chester's Perch. So we'll hear from our sponsors and we'll be right back.
You can't put a price on a good time. Chester's Perch, the Lincoln's Report, brought to you by the Boathouse Stratford, located at 30 York Street. Come see us down at the Avon River for pedal boats, kayaks, canoes, Juliet boat tours, and bike rentals. Enjoy great food and ice cream at the Riverside Patio Restaurant. Pet friendly and operated by the Herr family since 1965.
Yes, guy. Chester's in the house. Chris
What is
Jeffel,
up?
how are you, brother?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. So you
Looking
guys
good, Halls. I don't know what it is, but you look really good this week.
right?
Tell you what, it's I kind of like my truck. I clean up pretty good.
Absolutely.
That pretty smile that he has, Chester, just seems to shine on through.
See, you can
Oh,
put
yeah.
lipstick on a pig.
Yes,
Well, yeah.
you
Yes,
can.
you can.
Yes, you can. So, all right. Well, these legend killers just keep going. They only knocked off the first place team Saturday, win 3-2 at home versus Chatham. Calhoun stops 26 of 28. You guys outshoot Chatham 40-28. What went on at the PRC Center there Saturday night?
Yeah, it was like Saturday night's main event. I was waiting for Animotion and Obsession to come on, but yeah, it was beautiful. You know what? I was expecting a bit of a Christmas hangover game, personally. Talking to a couple of the boys over here Friday night, we were watching the junior game, and they got home from practice, and a couple of them were here, and they were all saying they regretted some of the decisions they made over the holidays. So I was kind of worried what we might see Saturday night, but I got to tell you, I thought it was a whale of a hockey game. I was thoroughly impressed with the way our boys came out and played against a Chatham team that had to be hungry, because we just went in there 2 weeks ago. We beat them on a home and away, you know. So I thought Chatham would have came out looking for blood, but kudos to the Lynx. You know, they played a great hockey game. Their energy level was up. They were physical. They were winning the battles, and you know, all in all, just a really good 3 periods of hockey where they dominated very large portions of the hockey game. If it wasn't for Sammy DeBlasi, I think, you know, it probably would not have been close. You
That's
know,
what I was
we did
hearing.
hit Sam. He's a big guy. He's positionally sound, and we hit him in the chest a lot. but we had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to really put that game away early. So kudos to him. He played a solid game. He did have a couple really, really top-notch saves on some 2-on-1s, but all in all, I thought we peppered his chest protector pretty good for a big portion of the game. But the positives were much better than the negatives in that game. You know, just a great effort. You know, Chatham in their defense, they're still missing Richter. He's one of their top guns. He's still out. And they're also missing Alexander Lisi, who's a point of player game. He got called up to the OHL earlier that day on Saturday morning, so he was out of the lineup as well. But you know, we're missing some guys too. You know, Montesi's still out. Hopefully to see him back this weekend at some point. And then Clarkey, he's down in Romania playing for Great Britain. So we won't see him for we won't see him this weekend at all. So coming up. So
and that's with the World Juniors, you said.
Yeah. So he's in I guess it's the second tier relegation, and they just started on the weekend. So they're running about a week behind the other guys. So yeah, we won't see him this weekend at all. So, you know, all in all, just a really, really good hockey game. You know, Ethan Weir, fantastic game.
Right?
You know,
2
he's
goals
been hot the last 2 months, month and a half. He's been putting the puck in the net, and that's what we were looking for that right from the start. And you know, it was a bit slow coming out of the gate, but he's got her going right now. He's getting big goals. I mean, the goals he scored on Saturday night were just being in the right place, working hard. And they were both crucial goals. Like, we were down 1-0 late in the first period, and he comes through with a late goal.
Yeah, 1944.
And it was really important goal to send us to that intermission with a 1-1 tie in a period in which we played really, really well, but we're down 1-0. It was huge to get that goal late in the first. And then he gets another one in the last minute of the second period, or like it was 4 or 5 seconds left in the second period. To put us up, right? And you know, those are just 2 clutch, crucial goals that we needed to really, you know, control that third period, which we did. You know, the second period too, like, we outshot them. I think it was 16-3 in the second period. Like, that's a first place hockey team, Sutherland Cup defending champs, and after a long Christmas break, and you know, maybe the Chatham boys had a bit more of a hangover too, but you know, I was super impressed with the effort Saturday night. What do you think, Halser?
Well, I tell you what really jumped out at me was Weir, and it's not the fact that Weir is scoring, the fact that the way he is scoring. The first goal that he scored was he went into the blue paint and directed a pass home. And you know, at the start of the season, he wanted to kind of deke around 2 or 3 guys coming into the zone. I saw a couple of times where he quick dumped it off to the guy who was at the blue line, kept skating a la Kovalev and Gretzky back in the 90s. You know, Kovalev wanted to skate through the team too, and Wayne said, "Hey, my name's Wayne. I pass pucks. Drop it off at me with the blue line and go hard." And that there were a couple of really nice give and goes. He looks fully engaged. He's forechecking well. He's finishing his checks, and again, going to the blue paint. Fantastic stuff there, really. I thought Elzinga also played a really good game. His forecheck was devastating. You know, de Blasi, a couple of those saves were right in front of me, and he played really, really well, especially in the first period. You know, we, to Chess's point, did him a couple of favors in the second, but there were a couple of first period saves that really kept him close. So overall, I mean, the D looks fantastic. The only time they scored was 2 bad giveaways, and it was such a Chatham game where they're probably the most dangerous team in the league in transition. And a St. Mary's giveaway in the first period ended up in the back of their net. A St. Mary's giveaway in the second period, same result. So, but that was it, you know, and that's junior hockey in a nutshell. You're going to have giveaways. We just talked about that at the World Juniors there. But they limited Chatham's chances, and that's still a really good hockey team over there. And I look forward to possibly a second or third round playoff series between those 2 teams.
That'll be a doozy, right?
Shanker, you were over there watching the game. What were you seeing with the Maroons and the Lincolns?
Well, Razor, you missed about 5 or 6 beauty open ice hits between both teams. It was a very physical game. And again, that first period, I think the guy keeping track of shots fell asleep. because I said after that period, St. Mary's had at least 20 shots or more.
Yeah.
And I tell you, that game winner by McAuley, that was a nice wrist shot, top, beat him glove side. And the Lincolns just outworked them. They moved the puck a bit faster than them. Yeah, I don't know if Chatham was just not feeling it, but the Lincolns again had all four lines rolling.
I think the depth really showed in that game. Like I said, Chatham
Yeah.
was missing a couple top-notch players, but they still were only running like their top two lines. After that, I didn't notice a whole lot once they got deep in their lineup, and they do have a lot of new
No.
faces too. But and talk about McCauley too, Shanker. The kid's got 9 points in 5 games since coming over,
Yeah.
right?
Unbelievable.
So
Well,
it's
The
both
fourth
him
line
and
too, I
Weir
thought.
are
yeah,
pickups for you guys, and like
Yeah.
you know, and like I had said on the previous podcast, you've got Lacko, you've got Keene, you've got all these guys that aren't just being role players; they're stepping up and contributing like lights out contributing. And so hats off to Powers and Bradley for finding these guys, because you know, just look at the score sheet. Weir and McCall, and you know, you've got Hodkinson with 31 assists. Like, you guys are just humming along right now, and I don't think anybody wants to run into you guys right now.
no,
Well, the
yeah, and
interesting thing
also
too is that you've got a game where they beat the first place team 3-2. The first line got shut out. They didn't have any
yeah,
points
it's exactly
unless
what I
they
was going
got
to say.
a second assist on a power play. I don't think so, but they were very quiet. I thought the fourth line started playing really well later on in the game as well. And Bradley, you know, responded by giving them more shifts. I think they had 4 or 5 shifts in the third period, and every one of them was played down in the opposition's end, banging and crashing. That's McDougall and Colebrook and Rogers.
Rogers, yeah.
And so they, like the second half of that game, I thought that they got a lot of shifts and they played very, very well as well. And that's to the depth point that Shanker was making.
Calhoun stops 26 of 28. He has another solid game, another 929 save percentage game. And, you know, you guys, like I said, are firing on all cylinders. You got Sarnia coming in on Friday night, and then you got Listowel coming in on Saturday night. So those are 2 games that you guys should be expected to win, but you don't want to overlook anything.
Yeah, yeah, they got to be careful. Definitely a big opportunity this weekend to gain some more points, but you know, I think the Sarnia game will look after themselves. But you know, I think they got a little bit of payback coming towards Listowel too. After that was definitely our last bad game, right?
Yep.
The last time we played Listowel
Yeah.
back in early December. That was, or it might have been late November. I can't remember, but
Yeah,
that's
they
the
haven't
last bad
lost in
game.
regulation since
No,
that night, Chess.
exactly.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, I hope you know, I like to see them come out and really send a message on Saturday night and take care of business Friday night. And I'm sure we'll see Vaughn again Friday night as well. Get him back in there and
Yep.
give Brogan a break, and then throw him to the Wolves on Saturday. So, looking forward to it.
Good stuff. All right, Chester. Well, thanks so much for your input and report on the Lincolns. Look forward to talking to you next week after your 2 games. Chris Chessel, St. Mary's Lincolns insider. We'll be
All
back
right.
with Chester's son, Rhett Chessel. We're going to have him doing Rhett's Roundup before we end up finishing up with Dave Graff with Chew on That. We'll be right back.
See you, boy.
Rhett's Roundup, sponsored by Deal Sports Group, specializing in custom teamwear, uniforms, and apparel such as hockey, baseball, soccer, volleyball, basketball, and more. Our online stores are used mainly as a fundraising platform. We create custom designs for clothing and hard goods. They're purchased through the DSG website and shipped to the team organizer. A 20% kickback is given to the association or individual team. We also sell promotional corporate apparel and hard goods and offer many different decoration options that include embroidery, DTF prints, sublimation, twill, leather patched, and a lot more.
All right. So tell us what you saw with the Chatham Maroons there on Saturday night at the PRC.
Well, I saw a really good game between David versus Goliath. Clash of the Titans, you know. It was a really good game, 60 minutes of just great hockey. And I thought the Lincolns came out great. I thought we played to win. I thought Chatham also played well. Defensively, they were a little shaky at times, but Sammy DeBlasi kept them in the entire game, which should have been 5, 6, 7 goals we should have had on the board. But I'll give credit to Sammy DeBlasi. He gave the Maroons a chance to win, and they just came up short. And 3 straight losses for the Maroons for us, and so the Maroons will want some payback potentially come playoff time.
What do you think about De Blasi? Like we had heard so much about him being sent down from the OHL last year. I really didn't get that impressed with him. I'll be honest with you. When I saw him last year, and he wasn't even their number one guy last year. He has a lights out game. It looks like he's obviously their number one this year. And like Halzer, what are you seeing with this kid?
Well, he was hot last night, and the potential's there. He's a big body. He's got to be 6'4", and so when you get a big body like when we say pepper in his chest, he also has the ability to just kind of get up and his his shoulders pretty much reach the crossbar when he's on his knees, and so he's taken away a good chunk of the top half of the net while he's down in his butterfly position, and that's why people love big goalies. I always joke you can always tell a big goalie when you look behind him and his pants are above the crossbar. That's a big dude, right? So he's not the most mobile, but he's also a really big guy, which stands to reason. But when he's able to square up, he's as good as anybody in this league, I think.
Schenker, what have you seen with the Maroons this year? What impresses you?
It's just their forwards. They move the puck so well, and they're not big. They're not a big team, right? So they're a little bit shorter. They're quicker, and they play position really well. And I think that has to go back with Feesey coaching them too. The one thing I did notice about De Blasi, though, if he has a weakness, it's him playing the puck. A couple times Saturday night, he was playing the puck. He kind of fumbled it, and he wasn't very smooth with it. So that's a weakness for me.
So De Blasi stops 37 of 40. Calhoun stops 26 of 28. Let's get into Elmira. They were, I guess you would call it an upset. They were upset by the Strathroy Rockets 6-5 in overtime. You had Reed Strauss. He was the loser, stopping 35 of 41 for the Sugar Kings. And winning goalie Seth Ronan was only marginally better, stopping 39 of 44. Both of them had sub 900 save percentage games. But Rhett, you had called it there last week. You thought Strathroy could be a team to come into the playoffs. And so, did you see the game? And if you didn't, what impresses you about the box score that we all are looking at?
Well, I didn't see the game. I didn't really watch it on flow as we were at the Lincoln's game. But I really think Strathroy is a really good team. They've got Seth Ronan as a goalie and Mason Costa. They've got Jake Ritson, Zachary LeBlanc, Eddie Hickson, and a couple others. But I think Strathroy and Elmira is a very serious potential playoff matchup that I could see, but potential upset. I would not be surprised if Strathroy and Elmira play each other and Strathroy comes on top. Because I've known in the past, I think they played each other a couple times, and I think Elmira won 1-0, and I think Strathroy's won like a couple, maybe one more game, but they've all been close games. And I'd really be intrigued to see if they play each other in March.
What I thought was interesting, I'm looking at the box score. Strathroy went up 2-0. Then Elmira got a power play goal from Gerber. But then it was all Strathroy again till the end of the first period. Yeah, at the end of the first period, Strathroy's leading 4-1 before Elmira woke up. And then it was 4 straight goals by Elmira to take the lead. They score 2 goals within 40 seconds at 15-14 and 15-54. And so they go from being down 4-1 to up 5-4 at the end of 2. and then Strathroy ties it up early in the third, and then Hickson ends up winning it from Ritson and Newstetter at 21 seconds into overtime. And I think you're on to something there, Rhett. These Rockets could be a sleeper team in the league that a lot of people are kind of missing, and they're flying under the radar at this point.
Ritson kid, he's only 16. He's a kid you need to keep your eye on. He's got like 45 points already. He's in the top 10, maybe the top 5. They got those 2 top scorers. But Ritson is an 09, and he's up in the top 10 scoring. He's a rookie in the league. So keep an eye on that name. When they're coming to town, check them out, because these guys can score. They've got a lot of speed. They're a little bit like St. Thomas in the fact that they can really surprise you with some of the talent they've got in their young guys.
They just beat Stratford and Elmira, and at the end of that game, Kyle Morey was challenging the Strathroy coaching staff.
Oh, he was.
That's what he got the misconduct for it. Yeah, so could be a little follow from there.
He was a little hot, was he? All right,
yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, let's jump over to Waterloo. The Siskins, their goalie Brock Grind, we had talked about him a little bit on one of our other podcasts. He's their 18-year-old, 6'2", 175 pounds. What do you like about the Waterloo Siskins, Rhett?
Waterloo is a very gritty and annoying team to play, I would say. I've seen them twice this year, and they're not a fun team to watch because they're just on you all the time. Their forecheck is good, back check is good. They're very good defensively, and they've got a good goalie in Brock Grind, and and got some good players: David Bodzai, Jacob Middleton, Drake Neal. And I will note that Ulysses Lombardi is no longer on the team. He's released.
I see that he's a rookie. What happened to him? Any idea?
He got released to Flint, I believe, or some team in the OHL.
Gotcha.
So I would
he
say
was
that's
lighting
a big
it up.
loss for them.
He was their top scorer by far, points per game. He was lighting it up.
Mm-hmm.
He was lighting the lamp at 1.44 points per game. But he's a huge loss for the Siskins to lose him.
Yeah, Waterloo could match up again with the Lincolns. I think another potential matchup could be the Lincolns and Siskins round 1 again. So that could be a tough matchup, but as a Lincolns fan, I hope not that doesn't happen. So if Waterloo's in the playoffs, which they probably will be, look out.
Yeah, and a hot goalie can solve a lot of problems for a team.
And in Olympic ice.
Waterloo ends up winning their first game coming back. They win 3-2 versus LaSalle. Keep an eye on Waterloo. They've got great goaltending, and they could be a sleeper team in the playoffs. They ended up creeping up on St. Mary's there, taking them deep into the playoffs last year. So don't count out those Siskins.
How do you like that schedule for LaSalle? Friday, you're in Stratford. Go back home. Then Sunday, you got to play in Waterloo at 1 o'clock. Like, it's too bad they couldn't have had a game Saturday somewhere. And, I know they're not going to stay overnight, but that's just a shitty schedule for them.
Yeah, and they've played 34 games already. Them and Chatham have already played 34. They only got 16 games left. Or only a week into January. So they can get some rest. If you don't like it, move your team to civilization.
Okay, Rhett. Well, thanks so much for the roundup this week. We look forward to getting more input from you next week.
Yep.
Got some text. Guys, love what you're bringing to the podcast, so we appreciate you, and
no
can't wait to hear more from you next week, buddy.
Yep, go Lynx.
Okay, Rhett Chessel from Rhett's Roundup. We'll be right back with Dave Graff and Chew on That.
Chew on That with Graffer. Brought to you by Work Pub and Eatery. Get a taste of tradition and charm in our family-run pub. From hearty dishes to cold drinks, we've got everything to make your visit memorable. Located at 75 Wellington Street, Stratford.
Yes, guy. Dave Graff
Fellas.
is in the house.
How's-
Look at
How's it going tonight,
Sid the
boys?
Kid, 2010 Vancouver.
You got her. Can't
Love
forget
it.
that pose, eh?
Right?
Hey, those are the only two guys that played in 10 and 14, I believe, that are still going.
You're right.
Yep.
Him and
Yeah.
Dowdy. I think
Yeah.
Niedermeyer's behind me there. He's long gone, obviously, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
What a
that's-
time, though, to be alive. My buddy Matt Cooper was in Vancouver, former
Oh, nice.
owner of a couple of Tim Hortons here.
Yep.
Huge
I know what you
hockey
mean.
fan. Him and his wife, Robin, are good friends with, I forget their names, the figure skaters that were competing in the Olympics. They were from the London area. And long story short, they ended up getting some passes into a bunch of different things. But
That's awesome.
just amazing to be in Vancouver, the energy. You started all off. I think Vancouver was where Ross Rebliati, the snowboarder, lost his medal for testing positive for
think
weed.
so.
Like shocking, testing positive for weed in Whistler. Like I can't believe that happened. So
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
oh
Good
goodness,
Good times. And of course, they won in 14 again, right? With the same,
in Sochi.
a lot of the same crew in Sochi. Yep. So,
Yeah,
yeah, they've done well with the ever since '98 in Nagano. They've fared fairly well in the other 2 out of 3. They didn't do too well in 06 in Turin, but it was that win the gold or don't win a medal those 2 years, I guess, right? In '98 and 06, but
yeah.
the gold's the other 3 years in there before the last 2 where we haven't had the haven't had the NHL players playing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway.
It's going to be fun. The guy I feel bad for, and we'll get into the snubs in a minute, but the one guy I feel bad for is Steve Stamkos. He broke his leg there before Vancouver in the fall, so he couldn't play. Or sorry, was Sochi in 2014,
Right.
and so he never got to play. And then the other two, 18 and 22, they weren't in the
They weren't
Olympics,
in the Olympics, right?
and now he's too old. Right,
he
so
would've
he
been
never
a-
got
he
a
would've
shot
been
at playing for Canada in the Olympics, which is
Right.
unfortunate.
And he would have
but
been a top first or second liner in 210, right?
absolutely
Or 214 for sure. Sorry, 214. That
14,
would have
yeah,
been 5 years in the
14
league,
and
6 years in the league.
18, definitely he would have. So,
Yeah, because he came in 08, right? So yeah, he
Yeah.
would have been a 6-year veteran at that point.
so what are your thoughts about Doug Armstrong's selections to Team Canada, Graffer?
Well, I just wanted to bring up a few things about Canada and even a couple about the U.S. We'll just stick to those 2 teams. What a team Russia could have if things weren't going on in this great world we live in right now. I'll be
Right?
careful what I say along those lines because I'm not politically savvy, and nor do I want to pretend to be. But what a team Russia would have. I mean, they got 4 goalies that would start for Canada in a heartbeat, and maybe more than 4. But that might be more of a reflection on how overall weak we are in net compared to the U.S. and Russia. But looking at Canada, obviously the big omission, and we chatted about it on our chat a bit, is Sam Bennett. I get it. He started slow this year. He's not the only one. Looking at just statistics, he's right there with some of the guys that did get chosen. I'll get to that in a second, but he's really come on. He's had a good December. I think he's back to full health. I think he's got 17 points. Maybe he's at least a point a game in December. And regardless of stats, because let's be upfront, you got to make a team with a lot more than stats. And Billy Guerin alluded to it from the U.S.
Right.
And I 100% Clarkey would be the best guy to speak about that. Of course, you got to build a team with different roles in mind. But Sam Bennett, he's a point a game in December, and he's if you want to talk about sandpaper and that type of player that stands out, like I think he fought in one of those 3 fights against the U.S. at the 4 Nations.
Yeah, he took on
Right.
one of the Tchuks.
The Chucks, right, and scored a big goal, had a couple other big points, and like I said in the chat, to me, I'm pretty sure he won the Conn Smythe last spring. Like if
That's
the
a
Conn
big
Smythe
trophy.
isn't the number 1 telltale of a clutch performer in the sport of hockey, I'm not too sure what is.
Yeah.
Like that's the MVP of the playoffs and a Stanley Cup winner. Like it doesn't get much more clutch over a long period of time, over a 3-month, 2.5, whatever month period of time, than winning the Conn Smythe. And you got Cirelli and Hagel off your own team over Bennett. There's the 3 words right there. Your own team. And
Right.
I'm not faulting John. I think he's a great coach. He's won cups in Tampa. He's done a fabulous job there and had a great career there. He won the Four Nations. So we can't second guess him. We can't sit here and throw darts with his freaking picture on the dartboard here down in the rec room. But how do you leave Bennett off when, and even Braden Point is having, for his standards, a terrible year for Braden's Point standards. Do you need him there? Yeah, he's going to perform. But all three of those Tampa guys and not Sam Bennett, I really struggle with that. And, I'll compare it to Adam Fox and Sullivan on the U.S. team. Like, Fox is a Norris Trophy winner. Yeah. And his own coach didn't put him on the team.
Right.
And I know, but there you have it. Fox is struggling a bit this year. So is Cirelli and Hagel. And you got Bennett that's come on in December, doing Bennett things, won the Conn Smythe last year, was big at the Four Nations. I guess I just struggle with that one a little bit. And just the whole dynamic of the coach of the club team being in those situations. Sullivan went the other way. Cooper picked his guys, and just your guys' thoughts on all of that, right? I did a little digging today just quickly stats-wise. I mean, Canada, they're about 1.5 points a game from their forwards. The U.S. is less than a point a game. Canada's definitely statistically have a lot more firepower. We know that with Crosby, or not Crosby as much, but McKinnon and McDavid at the top of the list.
Right.
And obviously the young kid, who's the young kid there? I'm John
Celebrini. Right
at the top of the list. Goals per game, they're about 0.2 more goals per game from their forward guys. And I think going back to the U.S., and that's where I wanted your guys' input on the Canadian choices, but also, Robertson and Caulfield being left off the U.S. when maybe they could have used a bit more scoring. Maybe they've got enough sandpaper guys there. They could have used one or two more guys to score. I do respect Billy Guerin's comments on, hey, if we just all did it by numbers, you wouldn't need GMs, right? But because he's trying to build that team with what he feels each guy's role should be, right? So,
well, just talking about Canada, like, I agree 100%. Sam Bennett, I don't know what you have to do. Back-to-back Stanley Cups, Conn Smythe Trophy winner last year, tying goal versus the U.S. to send the Four Nations to OT. And it wasn't something that hit his skate when he wasn't looking and went into the net. Marner fed him a pass, and he threaded a needle over Hellebuck, who's,
that's right,
the Vezina Trophy winning goalie, threaded it over his right shoulder,
right,
to send it to OT. And he's currently got 13 goals, 16 assists, 29 points in 39 games. He's on a career best heater right now.
And a good month of December to even make it more. Like, you talking about the now. That's the now, right?
Yes. So he's the guy out of all of them that really shocks me, like Konecny and all these other guys. I'm like, Sam Bennett makes no sense. But you look at the injuries that are happening now. You got Bo Horvat, who's hurt with a leg. They're not saying a whole lot about him with the Island. You got Tom Wilson that just hurt his leg.
Right.
That could be a serious injury. So there's two guys right there that may. Now, I know that the Olympics are still a month and change away, but you don't know. I would think that Bennett would be the first guy called up if they had an injury. But I do like the additions of Celebrini and Suzuki. There was a lot of whispers about him not going to the Worlds last year after Montreal got knocked out. And I don't know Suzuki, but when you're trying to get on Team Canada and people are saying, oh, that doesn't matter. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does, because he got left off the Four Nations team.
Now, why do you guys think Suzuki was chosen? Is it penalty killing? Is it the playmaking abilities or checking? Like, he doesn't score a lot, obviously, but that maybe surprised me a little bit too. Suzuki maybe over a guy like Bennett.
Halser, what do you think?
Well, that's just it. I don't like Suzuki over Bennett, and I think Suzuki's a center iceman, though, isn't he? There's lots of center icemen on this team. There's guys who play center who are playing the wing. Sid played a lot of wing. Celebrini's going to play a wing. So it's not like you couldn't drop a centerman and move somebody back into the middle and add to the depth. So I wasn't a fan of Suzuki making the team. I know I'm going to make my barber angry when I say that, but anyways, the one that it just surprised me, they went with Wilson over Bennett. I understand what Wilson brings to the team, but Bennett brings a lot of the same things to the team, and he's got a history there. So that's probably the number one. I mean, you've got Horvat, who's very quietly snuck his way in there when not a lot of people were talking about him, really, but everybody seems to be okay with him being on the team. He had a big world championship. He's been huge for Team Canada in the past. I think that's part of the process. But, that's another place. You look at Celebrini. If not for the advancement of Celebrini, Bennett would be on this team.
Right.
And so, it's not always about who is there, specifically taking his spot, but if there's a guy at a different part of the roster that's there that wasn't there last time. Suzuki's another example. You look at Suzuki and Celebrini, and some changes have to be made. I get Konechny. He was, I think he didn't distinguish himself one way or the other in the Four Nations Cup. He didn't look like he didn't belong, but he didn't exactly stand out either. So I see a couple of changes. Wilson specifically brought on to play against the Americans, bringing in a little more muscle. That's what I think. That they looked at the way the Americans played them in the Four Nations and decided we're going to bring extra muscle. But if that's your theory, then you still left Bennett off.
Exactly.
I'm not sure you can characterize Suzuki as a physical guy.
That was going to be my next question to you guys too, Halls, and maybe Shanker. Do you think it was Wilson over Bennett because the thinking is Wilson just brings a little more toughness just for that matchup with the U.S.? Is that maybe? I don't know. Maybe
Shanker, what do you
there wasn't room for both of them.
I think you had room for both, but looking at that point, I think Wilson. I'd rather have Wilson than Bennett for that role itself.
For that role, yeah.
But why not have both? My big four is Scheifele, Bennett, Chychrun, and Schaefer. I think the defense is going to hurt for Canada. I like the young guys, and having Doughty and Sanheim, I don't like it. I just.
Well, how much did the ice surface size have to do with those? If you're playing on true Olympic ice, is Schaefer there? If you're playing on the Olympic ice,
I would think so.
That's why maybe they're not as concerned about foot speed, right?
You can contain that, and it's smaller than NHL ice. Right. Now it's only by 5 or 7 feet.
So all of a sudden, foot speed goes from up here in your priority list on the regular Olympic ice surface down to about here.
Yeah.
Right.
How good was that OT goal Schaefer scored Saturday night against the Leafs in OT? My God.
Right? And the tying goal. Didn't he go? He walked right around Riley for the tying goal.
Yeah.
He's saying, hey, Johnny Cooper, look at me.
Just filthy.
I still wish they'd have brought him up, as a number 8 defenseman just to be around those guys and get the experience. He probably doesn't play, but I wish they would have brought him just to get the experience. And who knows, they get France in the third game.
Get him into one. Yeah.
I would have liked to see Schaefer play against France.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you got a good point there, Halls. I think bringing him in as the 8th guy, there's absolutely nothing to lose there. No risk at all. No risk at all.
What do you guys think? Let's talk about the goalies. Okay. So you've got Doug Armstrong, who's Bennington's GM. You've got Bennington, who's got a 3.44 goals against average with he's 55th out of 61 goalies in the NHL, and he's got an 870 save percentage, who's 59th out of 61.
That sounds like a guy who's
in 23 games. Now, honestly, I look at these stats and they don't mean anything to me because, like you always say, Halser, the eye test. What he did in 2019, Game 7 in Boston, wins the Cup. What he did, a lot of people forget, Austin Matthews had a couple of point-blank chances there in overtime in the Four Nations, and Bennington, it didn't hit him. He snared one.
He saved them, yeah.
Unbelievable. He saved Canada's bacon. So I love that Doug Armstrong kept him in. And so they let go Sam Montembeault and Aiden Hill. They got those two guys off the team and brought in Darcy Kemper from LA and Logan Thompson, who's a gamer from Washington. Now, I've heard that he's maybe not the greatest teammate, Logan Thompson, but the kid can stop a puck.
That was the
So-
chatter in the Four Nations. But I tell you what I like about Bennington. I believe that Jordan Bennington is this generation's Grant Fuhr. He almost never led the league in numbers, but who did you want in net for Game 7 of a playoff series? You wanted Grant Fuhr, and I think Bennington is that guy. He's not going to have the resume that Fuhr had. Frankly, there's a couple of guys out in front of him that are missing that Fuhr had. But when Gretzky and Curry were out there hanging out in the other team's end, scoring 6 goals a game, they were leaving Fuhr all to his own. And that didn't really change the size of the game, right? So that's why I love Bennington. He's a big game guy, and you're going to get a big game out of him when it matters most.
And you said
And no one's going to be in that crease either, Halser. He's going to be chopping and
he'll be
tripping.
Good Ontario boy knows how to play net.
And hey, Halls, I like the Fuhr comparison, because it's funny you say that about, Fuhr wasn't going to lead any stats. I think it was a pretty good hockey player named Wayne Gretzky that said that in one of his books, where Fuhr was never going to lead you anything, but there's not a goalie on the planet I wanted to net more in a Game 7 than Grant.
I remember him saying after they beat the Flyers in 7, and he said, and Hextall won the Conn Smythe, and he said, Ron Hextall's the best goalie I've ever played against, but then again, I've never played against Grant Fuhr.
Yeah, that's right.
But
At that point, for sure.
Coco was my favorite goalie.
Yeah.
If Aiden Hill wasn't hurt right now, would you think he'd be number 1 for Canada?
I don't think he would. I think it's Bennington's. I think he's like this year's version of Cujo. Remember which Olympic? I think it was Turin, and Cujo started, had a so-so game, and then they put in Marty Brodeur.
That was Salt Lake. That was 02. That was 02 with Quinn coaching.
Yeah,
Patty Quinn coaching his own goalie.
Yeah, and Cujo never saw the ice for the rest of the tournament. I think it's Bennington's job to lose Schenker, just because of what he's done, and obviously if he's hurt or he's not playing well leading up to it, we'll see. But he's on a short leash. I think you're going to have Doug Armstrong and Cooper and all of the boys. They've got faith in Bennington, but it's going to be interesting to see just, how long they stay with him if he isn't producing. But let's quickly talk about who they have no room for. Steve Stamkos, like I had mentioned before. Mark Scheifele, like you had mentioned, Schenker. John Tavares. No, he played 4 games for Team Canada in Sochi. Morgan Geekie from the Bruins. He's been the top scorer on the calendar year in 2025. Zach Hyman, how would he look playing alongside his centerman with McDavid if he was there? Hyman's had 155 goals in 4 years with the Oilers. Do you think that Dubas would like a mulligan re-signing him with the Leafs rather than letting him go for nothing? And then one of you guys quickly had mentioned about Edmonton's Evan Bouchard and Washington's Jacob Chikrin not making it. And so it's hard. And the D, they didn't change anyone on the D. It was just the forwards and the goaltending that they changed. And it's going to be interesting. I can't wait.
Razor, who do you leave off? That's the other thing, right?
Right.
Exactly.
I think Bennett should be there over one of those Tampa guys. But again, that's just my opinion. And Cooper's in a tough spot there. So
those Tampa guys are elite penalty killers too. And I think
for sure.
So that's, I think what everybody needs to keep in mind is, like, we're not saying pull this guy off, he's a bum.
No.
That's the thing. It's a nice problem to have, and we got to leave good hockey players off the team. Simply because we have so many. It's an embarrassment of riches most of the times when we're picking a Canadian team, and because we were all born and raised here and we're all experts on hockey, we all believe that they screwed it up somewhere.
Well, the great thing about it is we're only about 5 weeks away from it, which is
it's not far. It's not
unbelievable.
Far.
Yeah,
and I'll do one of the sessions. I'll do a good one on the old 80 U.S. Olympic team. I've always been near and dear to that thing.
Miracle on
the US,
ice.
but I know it's the U.S., but just such a great story, and we've all.
I watched
seen the
every game
movies
of
and-
that Olympics just to prove how old I am.
Do you know what was
exactly.
awesome
Well, also, I
about
remember
all
getting
of
home to the
that?
couch. I remember getting home to the couch to turn on Canada or U.S. Russia on the
Yeah.
22nd of February.
I've never been excited about a hockey game that didn't have anything to do with Canada in my life, but it was the original must-see TV.
That's right.
Well, and
That's
what was
right.
great, Al Michaels had never called a hockey game before. That
No.
was the hilarious part of it.
No.
Yep.
He said
So-
it doesn't matter if you don't know what a clothesline is or a blue line. It's all the same tonight or whatever he said, right? Like,
Yep.
geez.
And Ken
And he did
Dryden
a
worked.
good job.
Kenny Dryden. Yeah. Kenny Dryden. Yeah. Good times. Good times.
Gotta love it. All right, Graffer. Thanks so much for this. Dave
Thanks to the
Graff
fellows at work.
for chew
Thanks.
on that. I was actually just down at work before
Nice.
we came on the podcast talking to 40. Loves what we're doing. So
Good.
shout
Good.
out to 40 and his crew down at work. I told him what a great time we had with Jana and Apps and all of his crew there when you were at the Bills game.
That's
But,
right. Yeah.
He said, why didn't you get Graffer to do a live feed? And I said we
I
were going
wanted
to do it.
but it was so wet. Like
Exactly. And that's what I
Yeah.
said to him. I said he was going to do it, but in the second half, it was just teaming. And there was no way that he could do that in the pouring rain. So he
Hey,
laughed.
and guys,
but-
listen, you guys bringing up the Four Nations goals and stuff. It was a little foggy that night with the fellas in my buddy's shop. So it's coming back to me now. So thanks for
Well,
that.
good news, Graffer. Canada won.
Thank you. Oh, that's right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
good.
Dave Graff would chew on
See you
that.
guys.
We'll be
See you
back
guys.
with our sponsors and some final thoughts.
Railside Organics, Stratford's first and only Indigenous owned and operated organic dispensary, located at 29 Monteith Avenue, serving those in need with holistic remedies. Come say hi to Curly and his staff and see why everyone is recommending Railside Organics. Call Bick Heating and Cooling for all your heating, cooling, and plumbing needs. Proud Rude Pro partner. BickHeatCool.com or 226-921-4848. Your home team specialists. Taking care of Stratford and area since 2013. Vreda Veld Painting, servicing Stratford and surrounding area. With over 20 years of experience to help you with all your painting and decorating needs. On time and on budget.
Okay, it's time for our final thoughts. Schenker, what do you want to talk about on final thoughts?
I got a couple things. The Philadelphia Phillies have hired Donnie Baseball. Madeline is going to join Robbie Thompson as the bench coach for next year. So I think that's a great pickup for Thompson, the Phillies. And a shout out to former D-man and former Stratford Warrior Owen Robertson on making the jump to the AHL as a linesman. I believe he's done 2 or 3 games now up there. He's still doing the OHL, but hey, that's a big jump for him.
Good stuff. Halser, final thoughts?
Well, he's a big dude too. He'll fit right in there. He's like 6'4", 6'5" or something, and a good linesman for sure. So I want to talk about Toronto's most recent splash to get Okamoto for, I believe it was 4 years and $60 million, about 15 a year. I feel like this is like buying a light beer. To be honest with you, I'm not sure how I feel about this. He's a good player. He is a true kind of Toronto grind where he's a low strikeout, high contact guy. He has good batting average. Defensively, though, I mean, he's a corner infielder. He's won Gold Gloves in Japan, but as a first baseman, his metrics are way higher as a first baseman than a third baseman. So I'm not sure how he's going to be. Obviously, I've never seen him play. The other thing, too, is that he slides in probably around the 6 hole. I looked at a couple of mock batting orders. And, of course, all the idealists out there want Varsho to bat in the 2 hole like they thought he was going to be when they traded for him 3 or 4 years ago. So, I think there's a loser here, and I think it's Davis Schneider because Nathan Lucas is going to be the guy they bring in to pinch hit and pinch run and play defense for Santander, who's got to play left and has to be the guy to protect Vladdy. But if Santander doesn't do any better this year than he did last year, albeit in an injury-plagued season, there's nobody there really to protect Vladdy other than Barger, and that's a bit of a concern. So Okamoto kind of plays out to be an average defender at third base. Are they done? I would think they're done, but they're trying to make it seem like they're not done. For the record, by the way, for the first time in baseball history, the Toronto Blue Jays have a larger projected payroll than the New York Yankees. They actually have the second largest payroll now. So if you're already over 300 million and you're going to be paying somewhere, depends where you throw down, but somewhere between 70 and $100 million in luxury tax, it's hard to really imagine them going out and get another guy, because whatever you sign him for now, the tax is going to be almost 50% on that by going through the second threshold. What I mean is, if you sign Bo to a $200 million contract over 12 years, that's a pretty good AAV, but you got to add on 50% of that in luxury tax as well. So, I mean, another, whether it's a Bregman or a Tucker or a Bichette, you can almost half again whatever they're going to pay him. So you have to think Toronto's done, which is kind of a climactic finish to what's been a very good winter for them thus far. The bullpen looks fantastic. They'll pick up a couple more arms to shore that up. But they've got a lot of good arms down there, and they might just go with the same guy they went to close. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that Toronto looks like they're set and ready for spring. And you talked about things coming up. The Olympics are only a week ahead of spring training. It's only 6 weeks to spring training, boys and girls. So everybody put your coat on and bundle up, but know that baseball season's just around the corner.
Well, it's unbelievable. If you ever get a chance to go down to Dunedin or Clearwater for spring training, do it.
Anywhere down there.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's highly recommended. It's like going to National Stadium and being able to see Guerrero and all of the Phillies and a buddy of mine, Kevin Lee, shout out to Ninja. He lives in Clearwater, and so the Phillies ballpark's like 5 blocks from his house. So we would go there, and it was just awesome, just a great time. And then I was down in Dunedin a couple of years ago, and they've redone the compound and all the practice facilities just so that they can draw guys, into going there. Because that was one of the things that guys were saying about is substandard spring training facilities. So good stuff, guys. Before we end, just wanted to let people know, thank you for the texts and stuff for our campaign with You Matter. It's really hitting a spot with people on social media. Everybody knows somebody struggling, and don't be afraid to reach out. You do have options. You're not alone, and everybody just needs to know you matter. All right. For Ian Schenk and Brian Hawley, I'm Gary Ray. Thanks for tuning in to episode 14 of the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast.